All right, what's going on, everyone? We got a tier list / ranking video today. We're going to be talking about the best water users in anime and manga. Let me fix my mic for a second. There we go. Yeah, I asked everybody on my community tab a while ago who they thought the best fire users were, and I got a lot of interesting responses. So today we're going to talk about water users. The fire users was a surprisingly small list. I feel like the water users will be a somewhat longer list, but I'm curious to see what everyone has to say. As usual, we'll give everyone a few minutes to hop in the stream. Excuse me. How's everyone doing today, by the way? I've been wrapping up working on the April videos. Today's Thursday, so Fire Force comes out tomorrow. I think it's 1 o'clock Eastern time for anyone on the East Coast. It's Crunchyroll / Netflix, and I think Hulu too. Am I crazy? Is it also on Hulu? I think it's on everything. That's actually a good question. Let me see. Where to watch Fire Force Season 3. Here we go. Crunchyroll at 11, 12, so 2 o'clock, I think, for the East Coast. Some people are saying Hulu as well. Hulu will have it. We got Arceus Rules. What's going on, Arceus? Pleasure to have you. Good to see you. Arceus Rules, let me ask you this. Who do you think is the best water user in anime? Not necessarily the strongest, but who's your favorite? Or who are some of your favorites, I should say? One answer I haven't really seen yet in my research is the one stand user from JoJo Part 3. What was his name? Water stand user JoJo. Yeah, but who used this? Oh, Undul, the blind guy in Part 3. I think he would, in a one-on-one fight, I think he would beat a lot of people. We got Momo. Would we have the Momo ISA in chat? The Don character? I'm just kidding. What's going on? How you doing? How am I doing? I'm doing great. You know, it's Thursday, getting ready for the weekend. Only one more day, exactly 24 hours until Fire Force Season 3 starts, which I am balls to the wall excited for. I really like Juvia from Fairy Tail, but that's a hard question. JoJo, like you said, is a good one. Forgot the name. Undul, it should be. Hello. That's awesome. Speaking of Momo ISA, for anyone who didn't see, Don Season 2 got announced for July 3rd this summer. We all knew it was going to be July, but we have the official date. It'll be July 3rd. Nice and early. We don't have to wait very long. So we got Juvia. I wanted to make a tier list, but I just unfortunately was very busy today and didn't have time. Juvia, literally any fishman from One Piece. So Jinbei, for example. I love Momo. She's a badass. Momo is honestly like one of the most badass characters in Dandadan. Like, that is not an ironic statement at all. The best water user will always be Katara from Avatar. Yes, that is 100% true. Any of the water users. However, in the case of anime, I can't count anything from Avatar. It is very anime adjacent, so to speak. However, it is not anime. Because if I include Avatar, then I gotta include the X-Men, DC, all that good stuff. Trying to think. Black Clover, Fairy Tail, we had Juvia. My Hero. Does My Hero have a good water quirk? I feel like that's an obvious answer, and I feel stupid. Well, there's a bunch of them. I know that. Who was the one blue girl that worked for, oh my god, what was his name? Oh my god, I am totally blanking. Aqua from Konosuba, she definitely counts, yep. Juvia, or I feel like most people are gonna say either Juvia or Noelle. Night Eye, yeah. Who was the like bubble girl that worked for Night Eye? Is her name literally Bubble Girl? I think her name is literally just Bubble Girl. That's okay. Who was the orca hero? Is it Gang Orca? Yeah, Gang Orca. He's technically a water user, sort of. Yeah, that's funny. I don't think My Hero has a ton of water users. Yeah, okay, Bubble Girl. That's what I thought. Thank you. Gang Orca, yep. Noelle is a better water user than Katara? I feel like that's a hot take, but I don't disagree. If we're talking in terms of like pure power scaling, then yeah. I feel like Noelle would beat Katara pretty easy. Trying to think who that's crazy that My Hero really doesn't have that many water users. That's crazy. Like just like pure water users. They control the ocean or like shoot water out of their hands. That's crazy. Yeah, if you look at who was the washing machine? Who was the washing machine hero from My Hero? His name's literally just Wash. Wash is technically a water user. That'd be like a good gimmick. And isn't he in like the top 10 of yeah, the number 8 pro hero? No. Ice does not count. Momo Ice, I said, does ice count as water? No, because then if you're doing like fire users, smoke would count, and smoke does not count as fire, not even close. Could we also consider harem genre-based water users? Because there can be a lot of them. Literally, it's just got to be an anime or manga. I don't care who it is. It's got to be an anime or manga. Somebody said Aqua Shenron? That's not a bad one. I feel like that's the only water character from Dragon Ball 2. Oceanus Shenron, I mean. What's up, Ouji? We got Eddie Rayman in the chat. Eddie, real quick, who's your favorite water user in anime or manga? I'm trying to think. Damn. There aren't any really water users in Full Metal Alchemist. At least I don't think so. Right? Isaac McDougal? Oh, yeah, true. I don't know how fan favorite he is, though. Toby Rama and Kisame? Well, Kisame, yeah, but Toby Rama. So, my definition of, like, say, a water user or a fire user is that, like, 65% of their abilities are water. So, Toby Rama, yeah, I guess. Hold on. Toby Rama is one of the few characters to use water style without a water source. That's also Game Rant. So I don't know how reliable that is. Widely regarded as one of the strongest water style users. Yeah, they say water style, but I think he uses a lot of ice, doesn't he? Or am I crazy? Because Naruto is a weird one, because you can have like a style, but not really use that particular, like not use like that exact style of chakra or chakra nature. Am I excited for MHA? Well, we got Vigilantes coming out soon, and I'm curious to see what the anime looks like, because I'm not like the biggest Vigilantes fan, but I did like it, and I hope the anime makes it even more fun. Anime Monarch said Jinbei. Jinbei's a good one. Like I said, any of the Fishman, right? But probably Jinbei would be the strongest. Naruto fumbled the war arc? False. Although I'm not a huge fan of the very end. The Naruto war arc is, I would say, a solid 6 or 7 out of 10. On a really good day, if you catch me in the right mood, I would say like an 8 out of 10. Tanjiro for a little bit, yeah. Somebody said Gyu. Gyu's a good one. Trying to think who else. It's kind of ironic that there really wasn't a water user. A water user in Fire Force. Dagon from JJK. True. That's another one. That's actually a huge one. Kiyoshi. Which character was Kiyoshi? Also, how you doing? Andre Partridge. Welcome to the chat. I'm trying to think. Kiyoshi. I'm gonna feel so stupid when I see this. Oh, yep, you're right. Okay, yeah, I do feel stupid. What else? Yep, Noelle from Black Clover. Harabelle. So it only took 15 minutes and like a dozen characters for somebody to say Harabelle. I'm kind of surprised. Do Pokemon count? They have to have appeared in the anime. But yes, Pokemon absolutely count. So the preface I'm going to put is you have to name which trainer's version of that Pokemon. Because everyone's got like a different Pokemon. Like Ash had a Squirtle, but, you know, I'm trying to think. Right? Like, Ash also had a Buizel. Rukia would not count. Rukia is an ice user. We are not counting ice users. How many water users are in Naruto anyway? Well, you have all the water or mist swordsmen. So that's like 7 or 8, right? You have all the water Hokages. So there's a bunch of them. There was literally a water clan. There was a water nation. Just like Avatar. In that case, Ash's Greninja. Ash's Greninja is probably the big one I would name for Pokemon for sure. Ash's Greninja. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, I know there's a bunch of other Pokemon, like he had Squirtle and Buizel. He also had Totodile. Avatar does not count. No, we are not. We are only counting anime and manga characters. So, for example, like Pokemon is going to count, but you have to name like a specific Pokemon character, like Ash's Squirtle or like Ash's Totodile. Anime Monarch, you mentioned Harabel earlier. Sorry about that, bro. Dawn's Piplup? Yeah. I forget, did Piplup ever evolve? Or did it always stay Piplup? I think it just stayed Piplup, right? I'm trying to think of other anime. We did One Piece, we did Naruto, we did Bleach. Are there any? Aquarius, yep. So, okay, Fairy Tail. We did Juvia, Aquarius. Is there another? No, I feel like those are the only two big water users in Fairy Tail. Misty Starmie? Yeah, Misty Starmie is cool and everything, but like, do you really like watch Pokemon? You're like, oh man, I love Misty Starmie. No, probably not. So we have a character from Magi? Is it Magi or Magi? Trying to think. Oh, who was the water user from Eden Zero? He was pretty cool. Laguna. Laguna is a good one. I don't know like how powerful he is necessarily, but he was a really cool character. We got Justin Garcia in the chat. How you doing, Justin? Pleasure to see you, as always. Yeah, Laguna, exactly. Thank you, Toad Sage. We also have recommend Holy Land. It's a lot more realistic than Tokyo Revengers. Okay, all right, cool. Definitely have to check that out. Thank you for the recommendation. Kai and Shiba from Bleach. Oh, that was a good one. Yeah, true. All right, see you, Momo. Thanks for helping in the stream. Thanks for helping out with our ranking, our discussion. I'm sure there's tons of water-based summons in Yu-Gi-Oh, but that would be too long to name them all. Yeah, I don't know what a good water monster would be from Yu-Gi-Oh off the top of my head. I can think of like dragons and stuff. Kisma from Naruto? Who was Kisma? I mean, Kasame? Roxy from Mushoku Tensei. That's, you know, for you fellow intellectuals that like Mushoku Tensei, that's a good example. Are there water users in Seven Deadly Sins? There has to be at least one. Grace? Ocean? Yeah, I guess not. I don't think there's like a specific water user in Seven Deadly Sins. That one girl from Magi, I have not seen Magi, so I don't know. Sword guy clone dude. If you're talking about Kisame, we already talked about Kisame. Patty Penny from Zatch Bell. I've not seen Zatch Bell, so I will take your word for that one. Oh. Hold on. Shaman King. I know Shaman King has at least one. Spirit of Rain? Damn it. I thought Shaman King had like one character. I know there's Horo. But he's a ice user. I'm trying to think what else. I think one of the 4 archangels. Were they? So I'm not too familiar with most of Seven Deadly Sins. I just know like the first season. Tarmiel. Okay, I will. For all the Seven Deadly Sins fans, I'll take your word on that one. The Water Witch girl from Magi. Who? So okay. A few people have brought this up, so I need to find the name. Google does not want to be my friend, so if somebody knows, I'm pretty sure somebody named it already, but everyone keeps bringing it up. Yeah, Hunter is an interesting one. I don't think there's a water ability per se in Hunter x Hunter. Yeah, no, Hunter x Hunter doesn't really have... Damn, you know what? I feel like it's kind of crazy, but I feel like the water user list is just as narrow as like fire users. Because fire users, when you really think about it, the list of like specifically fire users in anime is relatively slim, excuse me. Caesar from JoJo, that's another one. True. He had the bubbles. We already talked about Undul from part 3. He's probably one of the best water users. That's like probably the most unique water ability ever. Blue Moon from JoJo. True. I don't know if I'd say he's, you know, one of my favorite characters, but, you know, that is an example. I'm trying to think. JoJo's. Let's look at Yu-Gi-Oh! Water monsters. No. Oh, who was the Fisher guy from the anime? Mako Tsunami. I remember him. I would throw Mako Tsunami in there, even though he doesn't really use water. He just uses like a lot of water-based monsters. But I would count him. Not JJK. Well, we already talked about what's his name? Dagon. We already talked about Dagon. Yeah, somebody already brought up Oceanus Shenron, but that's a good one. Sui from Darwin's Game. Okay, interesting. Okay, yeah, you know what? That Josuke from part 8, that's a good one actually. Although if you were like, not that we're necessarily power ranking, but if you were power ranking, that would kind of be a slippery slope, pun not intended, because not to get into spoilers, but his abilities are a little more than just water. Bam from Tower of God. Did he have like specifically water abilities? Yeah, I guess he had like water magic. That makes sense. Does 4Kids or Funimation? It just has to be an anime. As long as it's not like, you know, Avatar. Like if it's Sonic the Hedgehog, sure. It's just got to be anime. Anime or manga. Chaos from Sonic X. Okay, yeah, that counts. I don't know if Chaos is the best water user. Definitely a good water monster, I guess. Trying to think. Oh man. It's crazy that water users are almost exclusively used by female characters. Well, I would say it's a tendency. I wouldn't say it's an exclusivity, right? Because a lot of the fishmen are male characters, and a lot of the characters we've named actually are male. So, but I would say like the most prominent one are female characters. A lot of water users are healers. That's a good point. Rikuo from Darkstalkers? Which character was Rikuo? Oh yeah, the like merman character. That's a good one. Darkstalkers technically has an anime, right? Yes it does. I don't know how good it is, but it does. It most certainly does. That if we want to talk about anime revivals, or they would never make this because nobody knows if they're even going to make a new game ever again, but dude, a Darkstalkers anime, especially if it was like Trigger or somebody, that would be the best anime ever. I would watch that anime like 100 times. Miturai from Yu Yu Hakusho. Yeah, I think we already brought that up. Sinbad. Okay. See, I'm not familiar with Magi. I haven't watched that one. I know a lot of people like that series. Darkstalkers has an OVA series, so it does count. Yes, it absolutely counts. I'm trying to think. Street Fighter doesn't really have a water user, because Ken is like a fire user, sort of, but there isn't really a water user. I'm trying to think. I don't think anybody named him yet, but Zabuza, right? That's another one. It's also called Night Warriors, true. For any fans of Sailor Moon, there's also Sailor Mercury, if you want to count that one. Demix from Kingdom Hearts, since the series have several mangas. Okay, that's fair. The Darkstalkers OVA was actually animated by Studio Madhouse, was it? Let me check this out. Hold on. Was it Night Warriors Darkstalkers Revenge? It actually doesn't look that bad. Now I'm kind of curious. Yeah, it was done by Madhouse. Reception. Darkstalkers Revenge received good reviews in Western magazines. Scores including B+. B+. Superb animation with vivid colors and smooth motion. Huh. That's crazy. Damn, you know what? Who brought up the Darkstalkers character? Andre and Jose, you've done me a great favor today. I'm gonna have to peep that this weekend. If not this weekend, very soon. Almost same style, second Street Fighter animation movie. Well, who did the first Street Fighter movie? It could not have been Madhouse. There's no way. Fighter movie. Oh god, no, not the live action movie. Anime. Street Fighter 2, the animated movie should be it. Yeah, that looks right. Yeah, here we go, the animated movie. Produced. Dude, who the hell made this? They don't really name a studio. Written by, directed by, animated by Group TAC. Okay, I've never heard of that before. Damn, that's crazy. So, Street Fighter got whoever, but Darkstalkers got Madhouse? That's crazy. Crazy enough, the English voice cast in the Darkstalkers OVA would become big stars. Big star voice actors in shows like MLP Friendship is Magic series. Okay, good to know. Well, it wasn't that long ago. I mean, it was only 1997. Shogo Aoshima? Next question. What's going on, Yato Gami? You know, Yato, I'm not gonna lie, I almost did a Shangri-La Frontier stream today. I was very close to doing a Shangri-La Frontier stream today. I'll probably do it next week. Although, I can't make any promises. Go Loser Rangers, aka Ranger Reject. At some point, I gotta do a Ranger Reject catch-up stream or something. A certain magical index? Well, you're gonna have to say that to me because I have no idea what you're talking about. Mercphobia? Mercphobia is another one, yeah. One of the dragon gods from Fairy Tale 100 Years Quest. Well, you know, we might have to do the might have to do the Shangri-La Frontier stream then. The water body from One Punch Man. Yeah, that's crazy too, right? One Punch Man has a ton of heroes. Doesn't really have a water user. Has a wind user if you count Tatsumaki. Eddie knows ball. Well, you know, Eddie's just cultured like that. He's good people. That's crazy. Yeah, you know, I thought water users were going to be like way more abundant than fire users, but I feel like they're just as niche as fire users when you like really pin it down. Shame we never got to see Mercphobia's full power. True. Yeah, I don't know how many water users there are because it's rare to name them. That's what I'm saying, dude. Like, we're not talking ice users. Specifically, water users. It's the same thing with fire. Like, when you sit down and you think about characters that primarily rely on fire for their combat abilities, it's surprisingly small. Tomorrow, Peak Fire Force makes its glorious return. It's gonna be so hype, man. Like, I'm gonna be dropping everything I'm doing to watch that episode tomorrow. One Punch Man doesn't have water users. That's insane. That's what I'm saying, dude. So that's not true. Now that I think about it, who was the Ocean King? He's like the one character, if you can really count him. The Deep Sea King, I guess. But does he have water powers? I'll say Deep Sea King, but I don't know if he really counts. Yeah, true. Centauria has Arcos and Lacrima. The what's the name of the god in? Do we know the name of the god in Centauria? I'm surprised Fire Force didn't mention water users. Well, does Fire Force really have a water user besides the one guy who can kind of use ice? I think people count water users and ice users. No. Totally different. If smoke characters are different than fire characters, which they 100% are, then they don't count. If water Pokemon and ice Pokemon are totally different, which they are, then they don't count. If water benders have to learn like a new whole kind of bending to do ice bending, basically, then it doesn't count, even though it's technically water bending. Basically. Boob monster? I have no idea what you're talking about. I'm trying to think who else we got. We did One Punch Man. Damn. We did Dragon Ball. Dragon Ball only has like one. Shaman King really doesn't have one. Yu Yu Hakusho. Hunter x Hunter doesn't really have any. I feel like water users might be more niche than fire users. I think a better comparison to water and ice would be fire and lava. Well, that's like, that's kind of like a Kainu, because I would count a Kainu as a fire user only because what is magma, right? It's basically fire, really, right? But ice is like common enough and it's like different enough that it doesn't really count. The Centauria Squid Mommy is Boob Monster, but maybe she has a regular number of boobs actually. I figured that's what you were mean. I figured that's what you meant, but I was like, is he talking about something else? It's like fire is every anime manga favorite element. Water element seems very underrated. I think going through this list, it's incredibly underrated. What was the guy's name from Eden Zero? We mentioned him earlier, Laguna. Laguna is 100% a top tier water user. I heard blonde black suit lady has water user. I have no idea what you mean, Eddie. If I'm keeping it real. What else? Rave Master doesn't really have a water user per se. I don't, right? Am I crazy? Yeah, no. Although I guess if you want to count all the mermaids, but like there isn't really like a mermaid fighter. Yoshino from Date Alive. I don't even know what that is. I will take your word for it. I'm trying to think what else. Soul Eater doesn't really have any water users. Does it? Now that I think about it, the more we go through these series, the more I feel like water users are criminally underutilized, like criminally underrated. Yeah, no, nobody really uses water in Soul Eater either. Hody Jones from One Piece. So yeah, we talked about the Fishman, but basically like any Fishman character, Jinbei, Hody Jones, Fisher Tiger, right? That's another one. Poseidon, if you really want to talk about Poseidon. Which is funny when you think about it, right? Ironically, there's no water devil fruit. There's an ice devil fruit, but there's no water devil fruit. Which I guess makes sense. But like you could do lake water. Although, as niche of a question as that is there ever a lake in One Piece? Have they ever pointed out a lake? There must be, right? What about the alien from Dandadan Core 1? Oh yeah, the Nessie, right? Is that what you're talking about? Oh no, the shrimp, Mr. Shrimp. I know who you're talking about. A water devil fruit would be broken. That would be the most busted ability, because then you could just drown them in the ocean. That would be incredibly busted. Peeny Weenie sort of counts, right? Because he gets a power up in water, and yeah, I guess that counts. Did you know there was an anime series called Street Fighter 2V? It was very underrated. What? Hold the phone. Hold the presses. Street Fighter 2V. Okay, that's pretty cool. I mostly just know the movie. But it's the same studio that did the movie, so I'm sure it must be relatively good. Although anytime like somebody does a movie and then they do a TV show, 9 times out of 10, the TV show isn't nearly as good as the movie. The Godzilla character from Dawn to Dawn. Godzilla character. Were they? I don't really think they're. If you're talking about what's her name? I don't think that's a water user. Aquarius, yeah, we mentioned her. His beams are made of water. Are you talking about the Nessie character? Hey, Ouji, a bit late, but I wanted to jump in before the stream ends. Well, we got plenty of time. We got like 15 minutes. I appreciate you, Gamer Chan Leanne. Which, by the way, friendly reminder, if you want a custom exclusive to this channel Shonen Ouji loyalty badge like Gamer Chan Leanne has, make sure to become a member. You get Dr. Stone loyalty badges. There's different tiers for those depending on how long you're a member. We also have exclusive custom-made emojis. We got a Suika emoji, an Excalibur emoji. If you want to rock some Soul Eater vibes during the Fire Force season. We got a bunch of other emojis like Robin and Turbo Granny. And you get a bunch of other perks. So first tier starts at $2.99 a month in the recruit tier. So make sure to become a member today if you want to show all that stuff off during the streams. That one spirit from Delicious and Dungeon. Okay. Vamola. I always forget her name, but yeah, Vamola. Does Vamola really use water? I guess that counts. This whole discussion, I'm glad we had this discussion. This whole discussion has made me realize how niche water users are in anime, really. Which is so weird because it's such a basic ability, and yet I really don't feel like it's that ubiquitous. Boltagar from Dead Rock? I gotta read the rest of Dead Rock because I stopped reading after like chapter 3. I'm trying to think. We did Naruto, Bleach, One Piece, Yu Yu Hakusho, Hunter x Hunter, Soul Eater, Fire Force. Yeah, I kind of feel like that's it. Right? We even did Sailor Mercury from Sailor Moon. Rudius, yeah, kind of. Does anyone see both Devil May Cry Netflix Crunchyroll Awards nominations and Marvel Rivals Season 2? All I know about Marvel Rivals is they announced Emma Frost, and my only review for that is that's good stuff. Naruto had a lot of water use. Yeah, but like that's like saying, you know, Pokemon has a lot of water Pokemon. Like, yeah, but like how many like good ones are there? Anyway, I'm heading to sleep. All right, Za. Pizza. Thanks for joining the stream. Pleasure to have you. Trying to think what else. Yeah, I feel like that's kind of it. Oh, I know somebody mentioned Misty earlier for Pokemon, but Misty Psyduck, that's an iconic character. Also, I'm looking and technically we shouldn't count Demon Slayer characters because all their powers are visual. So they're basically LARPing. You know what Pokemon has a lot of that I don't like? I don't know, you tell me. Pokemon fans? All right, let's see what CBR has to say. Isaac McDougall. I feel like these are going to be all characters we already talked about. Sailor Mercury, Kisame. Yeah, Lucy, right? If you count Lucy and Aquarius. Harabelle. Kota from My Hero. I guess. That's kind of a lame one. Aqua. Penny from Zatch Bell. Katara shouldn't count. That's not an anime. Noelle. Yeah, it's a surprisingly niche list, which is crazy. Yeah, the author did Demon Slayer dirty with that one. Honestly, that was the dumbest thing to say. It was so dumb. Yeah, that's pretty much it. That's crazy. Anyway, how are we feeling about the spring season of anime? I know we've talked about this a bit, but I'm looking forward to Fire Force. Fire Force is going to be crazy good. My Hero. I keep thinking about Rent a Girlfriend, but that's not till the summer. Lazarus. That'll be a big one. Windbreaker. I'm actually excited to check out Windbreaker season 2 because Axel at Blaze just told me that it gets pretty emotional. So I am crossing my fingers that I like season 2, pardon me, a lot more than season 1. The beginning after the end, although people have mixed feelings about that so far. Witch Watch, of course, Witch Watch. Witch Watch is April 6th, so Monday? Is that right? Monday? No, Sunday. Honestly, I love a good Sunday anime. Like Shangri-La Frontier. I cannot believe Shangri-La Frontier is over for now. There's also a Mobile Suit Gundam anime, which will be worth checking out. Been a long time since I checked out Fire Force. Dude, you have to watch season 3. Season 3 is going to be so good. God Serena can use water, but should he count? Yeah, no, I would count God Serena as like an elemental user or an element user, right? There are certain characters that use like elements, but they don't rely on any particular one. Like Jelal could be like an element user, or Siegfried from Rave Master because he uses a bunch of different ones. Trying to think. Who's like another elemental character? My thoughts on Dr. Stone. If you're talking about season 4 is really good so far. I'm really excited to see the next part. Jelal uses celestial body magic, stars and stuff. Yeah, he uses like arcane magic, so he could be like an arcane. He'd be like a sorcerer, I guess. Siegfried definitely used elements though, right? Because he used like different kinds of spells. I would have to review that because I feel like Jelal uses different kinds of spells. I could almost swear he used like fire spells and stuff like that because he used the one fire spell for Natsu to power Natsu up. Please tell me we cannot count Mecha as water users. No. No. Voice lagging? Am I behind on the chat? Can everyone hear me okay? Tsukiyumi from Sekirai? Let's see. Okay, I guess that counts. Niche pick. Eddie says you can hear me good. Okay, thank you. Yeah, I've had people say the chat is delayed. I think Gamer Chan Leanne said it before, but I think we're all right. Sekirei is a harem genre anime. Hey, look, man, I just said anime. I didn't say, you know, whatever. I just said anime and manga. So if it's anime, it counts. Anyway, I think now is a good time to wrap things up. Thank you, everybody. The takeaway from today's stream is, of course, water users are extremely underrated and we need more of them. But thank you everybody for sharing your picks. We will stream Sunday, same time as usual. Look out for at least one video this weekend, probably two, but it might only be one depending on scheduling. But yeah, thanks everybody. I'll see you Sunday. Peace.